I commute on the Chicago L every day, and I see people huddled on the platform, sitting shoulder to shoulder, and almost everyone is somewhere else, heads down, screens up. Before smartphones, there were definitely more glances, more nods, more small talk, more ad hoc conversations between strangers. I've had so many of them in the past, and it felt more connected than it does now. And now we move through public space together, but alone, and the tools designed to connect us steal our attention instead. Every train car contains a slice of our city made up of people of different ages, incomes, cultures, and reasons for riding, and we love our city. What if this everyday shared space held more possibilities for community than we currently allow for, than it's currently designed for? And that is where my project started. So over the past few weeks, I observed riders on the train. I interviewed commuters, one of whom had a completely opposite safety experience than mine. I rode the train with intentional empathy, really paying attention to what it felt like and what I saw. I generated over 100 ideas. I built prototypes and I put them in front of people, and I used AI to accelerate and expand all of the work. Every single step shifted and advanced my understanding of the challenge. And so this is where all of that led. Here's what I found when I started looking at the current experience. Riders aren't actually antisocial, they're self-protective, because the system gives them no signal that it's safe to let their guard down. There's no one in charge when you're riding the train. There's no visible authority. So most people scan their environment, keep their guard up, and move through the system alone. It was an important insight. I watched a woman walk through the train car asking aloud for spare change, and not one person responded. You know, people wanted to, but they didn't. She wasn't even acknowledged. And when I interviewed a daily commuter, someone who rides a different line than mine, she described her version of community on the train as, I've made my friend at my stop. Just in case anything ever jumps off, I know the biggest guy here, and he's not gonna let anything happen to me. And that sentence changed my perspective. Because what I realized is this: the CTA is a community of necessity. As the train slips through the city from one end to another, people ride together, but they don't choose to be together. They're bound by geography, chance, and circumstance, and you can't design for participation when nobody really signed up to participate. But that realization unlocks something too. So with AI as my ideation partner and doing a mashup, the idea of the Camino de Santiago came up. And it's a pilgrimage in Spain where thousands of strangers walk the same road together. And something happens on that road. There's a shared direction, a shared effort, an unspoken acknowledgement. We're all in this together. And I thought, that's the L. What if I thought of it through the lens sort of this pilgrimage? Every single person on the train is on a pilgrimage somewhere, to work, to school, a doctor's appointment, a first date, job interview, reuniting with an old friend, so many reasons. They're moving through the city with intention, even if nobody around them really knows it. And what they all have in common, what we all have in common is Chicago. It's an amazing city. We love it. It's rich, it's diverse, it's layered, it's complicated, it's beloved. And that's actually something that we could all unite around, and not in a forced way, not with mandatory conversation or organized activities, but in a way that quietly says, you belong here. This city is yours. This city is ours. So with AI, my hands, insights and ideas, I made some things and tested them. I prototyped 5 of the concepts. I got feedback from real people, and there was one moment that I kept coming back to that really impacted me. I rode the bus as part of this. It's very similar to the train, and I had to go somewhere. And on my way, I took a number of different buses. So there were 3 drivers, and 2 of them were fine. They were professional and they were minimal. But my last driver, he was completely different. He greeted everyone who boarded with a hello, hello, and he basically sang it. And a group of young women got on, and he had a little interaction with them after saying hello, hello. And then as they were kind of moving to the back of the bus, he's saying, "This is how we do it." And then they all laughed, and the whole bus kind of lightened up. We all smiled. And one of the girls said to one of her friends as she passed me, "See, I told you we made the right choice." And the whole bus felt different after that. It felt different even with the greeting. And so one person's decision to show up with intention turned a shared space from something tolerated into something chosen. It demonstrated that they weren't riding the system alone and that someone cared. Human connection is the spark that turns a train of strangers into a community. So when I tested one of my ideas called What the L, which is a card dispenser that has questions on cards that writers pull from a dispenser, they're Chicago-centric, they're playful, they're reflective. The line that struck me most was, this would get people's faces off their phones and start conversations. What I want to create is a CTA that shows people aren't riding alone, that we are connected, and that we share in diverse experiences of our great city. And so I had 5 ideas that were pointing in that direction. There's the voices that move us, and that one was about conductors that are given the permission and encouraged, and even the training if they need it, to bring their real personality to the intercom. Someone who sounds like they care about the people on the train.
Good morning. Welcome aboard the Blue Line. Next stop is O'Hare. We're moving and shaking. Whatever you've got going on today, you showed up. That's already something. Have a good one.
There's the visible We, a simple, free, color-coded enamel button for each L line. The We Ride Chicago button. It's a wearable signal that says, I'm part of this and I'm proud too. And then the What the L, the card dispensers on the platforms. You pull a card, you get a question worth sitting with. Deep dish or tavern cut pizza? What neighborhood do you wish more people knew about? Low stakes, thought-provoking conversation starters. And then seat surprise. Small surprises like a cup of coffee or a museum pass, a print by a local artist, turning the commute into a moment of unexpected civic delight. And the idea that was the most moving to me was the community care car. One car on every train, staffed by trained social workers, guided by harm reduction principles, because unhoused riders and riders struggling with addiction are part of the community too. And right now, the system treats them like a problem to avoid, not people to support. The idea I'd start with tomorrow is the card dispenser, because it's not a huge cost. There's no requirement to change the whole system. Nobody's forced to engage. And it meets riders where they are, on the platform, waiting with time, phones in their pocket maybe for just a minute. And the bigger vision is this, a CTA that functions as a civic infrastructure for belonging, not just a system that moves people from one place to another, a system that sees them. So to further test the What the L idea, I can stand on various platforms and test the dispenser and cards with real riders across multiple lines. Maybe I'd flesh out a more fleshed out prototype. And then I could look into partnerships with Chicago cultural institutions like museums and arts organizations, neighborhood groups, sports teams, who can contribute content and eventually help sustain it. For the voices that move us, we could meet with some willing conductors, train those who aren't confident in partnership with Second City Improv Group, and test the voicing of their authentic selves with riders and see how it goes. And for the community care car, I thought I could reach out to social service organizations already doing outreach work in other places and get their thoughts for applying it to the riding community. How might we move the CTA train experience, turnstile to turnstile, from individual vigilance toward human connection that creates a shared sense of community, safety, and belonging? The L is already a community, we just haven't designed for it yet.